Memorable dates. You know the ones I mean. The ones where you find yourself saying, oh yeah, I remember where I was when that happened. Events such as Diane's car crash, the 9/11 attack, or the 7th of July London bombings. Madam Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, I'd like to add my own date to that list. My date changed my life. My date affected not just everyone in this room, but people across the globe. My date was the 15th of September, 2008. My date marked the collapse of Lehman Brothers and the onset of the financial crisis. Now, the story of this event has received unprecedented media attention and been the subject of numerous books, films, and documentaries. But as a former employee of 10 years, I want to give you an insight into one of the stories not told. My viewpoint of what I experienced that day. I remember the week leading up to that fateful Monday. What a contrast. The share price was tumbling down. Rumours were flying around. But internally, the message was, from management, don't worry. We've been through worse before. And we've come back even stronger. We all bought into it. We prepared to batten down the hatches and weather the storm. None of us anticipated what was to come next. As the end drew near, I remember being glued to my TV screen, scouring the news channels for any sound bites I could find. At times it felt like a surreal drama. That is, until the early hours of Monday morning, when the final nail was put in the Lehman coffin. What happens now? Without guidance or instruction, I did what I'd do on any weekday. I headed off into work, prepared to face the unknown. As I approached our building, I was confronted with a strange sight, which is now familiar to millions. A lasting image, and one that's not only come to represent the crisis as a whole, but one of the iconic images of the last decade. Those people weren't asked to grab their stuff and go. It was an act of sheer self-survival. And once inside the building, and away from prying eyes, I became aware of the gravity of the situation. I walked past a colleague, collapsed on the floor, stricken with grief, as if they'd lost a close family member. The shock of the event had been clearly too great for some, and they were utterly inconsolable. I wandered past the trading floor and spotted a lone figure staring off into the distance, a picture of disbelief. That trader had come in like he'd done for the last 20 years to do his job, and now his world had crumbled around him. As the fear took grip, I stood there in amazement at the scene which unfolded at the staff shop. Despite earning massive salaries, the realization that the small amount of cash left on their work passes might disappear led to a panic-buying frenzy. Colleagues were fighting over each other to buy a dozen toothbrushes, 10 battery packs, whatever they could lay their hands on. It was unbelievable. Within minutes, the shop was gutted. I proceeded back to my desk, trying to make some sense of it all, and just sat there, waiting. Eventually, I learned that Lehman in Europe was no more. My reaction? I joined the mass exodus of thousands to the local bars, where we spent the rest of the day for want of anything better to do. The mood turned from despondent to delirious, akin to a wake after a funeral. One final goodbye, all the while aware that the press were amongst us. Imagine trying to evade the paparazzi as while I'm fielding phone calls from worried loved ones and friends. And the rest, well, it's history. Here's my piece of history. And there's something ironic in having a business card emblazoned with Greg Ross, Lehman Brothers, business continuity. Perhaps a collector's item someday. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I've been able to give you a different perspective on this once-in-a-lifetime event. My memories of that day will stay with me the rest of my life. I witnessed human behavior that day, the likes of which I'd never seen. And I learned, just for a brief moment, what it felt like to be at the epicenter of the world's attention, to be at the eye of the storm. But I'm concentrating.